about, we're going to give Avis a opportunity to get here. She's en route, so we'll start about 2-3 minutes late.
I'm trying to, but
kind of get going. All right, we're going to get it started, folks. So you got all our goodies? Okay. We have one of those FAQ things kind of set.
these are extras, and I have.
Okay, go ahead and let's go ahead and just. Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and distribute them out to folks.
Okay. Did you want a copy of this?
Yeah, I'll take a copy.
I'll take this.
And then.
That's what I know. This is what we're already doing.
Different ones, y'all can kind of share them.
We're going to get
There, y'all can have them to look over.
everything is going to be about connecting with people because there's so many other things that people.
There she is. This is in the house. All right, we're going to get started.
Well, something it's an artist and try to get local artists. Not every time.
And then how are you
Following that terribly. I mean,
yeah, how does it work?
well, you're supposed to call and talk to them, you know. Very nice you speak. I talked to some.
Oh, this is okay.
Well, that's what we're doing.
All right.
Yeah, well.
So how's everybody today? Awesome. All right, fantastic. So we're going to get started. So this is an AutoConnect Orientation. And so what have you heard about AutoConnect? Does anybody know what AutoConnect is?
We're talking about the class. I was like, what is that?
What does it sound like?
You automatically connect.
There you go. It's just, we keep it simple, right? It really is that simple. Well, let's face it. I mean, Gary Keller wrote a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And one of the fundamental things that Gary Keller taught us, he said, the key foundational thing that every agent has to do is systematically and regularly do what? Touch their database. And he said, ideally, you do it at a hyper-local level, right? You know, you work on being that local real estate economist or the local real estate authority, he would say. And what we always found is, you know, and over the various years, watching agents struggle to implement that because being hyper-local requires a lot of work, yes?
Yes.
I got to go figure out where do I get the material, where do I get the statistics, how do I put it together? And as we've been really focused on the database, you know, for me, it's been a passion over the last few years because, you know, I have seen over the years that agents really struggled with that. And then what we realized as part of the struggle was we needed to partner with you to help you develop that hyper-local position. And so that's what AutoConnect is. It's a way that you can now do this automatically with your database. Right now, it's a print program, and as we get into Command, it becomes also a digital platform as well. There is a component of it digital right now that you can do, yet the digital portion is not hyper-local. It runs what we call a stock campaign. So today I'm going to talk to you about what's in place and then what's coming with smart plans when we get into Command. And so if you look at the screen, you'll see that, you know, we talk about connection or flow, and we think about, you see the dice, and we say, well, a great marketing campaign would really be one that touched somebody in every single medium you could, yes? Constant Contact says the open rate on email. Does anybody want to guess what the open rate on email is? 16%, according to Constant Contact. And so 16% of emails get open. And now if yours is going to a real target group, it might be a little bit more. And yet, what do you think your best is? So right now I have 2 bold classes running. And we send out information to the bold class that's important to them about their assignments for the week and all of that. And I went and looked at the analytics this morning to see what percentage of the emails that were sent out 3 days ago have been opened and read. And this is a very targeted group that I'm actually in a class with right now, and it was 62%. So a whole third weren't even looking at the emails, and they're going to arrive at class next week. I didn't know. Well, you didn't know because you didn't open the email. And that's in a situation where I'm already in the flow in a relationship, and we have a business arrangement going on or a structure going on right now, and that's the number there. So emails are a struggle by themselves because many times they don't get open. And so we're going to talk about a multi-channel approach, which involves the mail, the telephone, email, and ultimately digital, social media, and possibly texting as well. And so to kind of help you grab this, when we talk about flow or connection with your database, I want to share with you a story. It's early July, and I'm driving down 130, and my phone rings. And who's ever gotten that call on your phone, and it comes up on your caller ID? And if it's coming up on your caller ID, it means it's in your contacts, right? And this name shows up, Barbara Delamo. And I'm going, who's Barbara Delamo? Did anybody have that experience beside me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I'm going, I must know Barbara because she's in my phone. She's showing up here. So how do I answer the phone? Hey, Barbara, what's going on? I have no clue who Barbara is. Don't have a clue. And she goes, well, I'm going to talk like Barbara for a minute. She's from San Antonio. She goes, well, hi, Steve. And I go, well, hi, Barbara. And she goes, well, hey, I was calling to wish you happy birthday. And I go, well, thanks. I said, you're a little early. My birthday's not for about another 3 weeks. She goes, I know. I wanted to be the first one. She goes, am I the first one? And I go, well, you sure are. She goes, well, happy birthday, early. And now, was that a great icebreaker? Now, I still don't know how I know Barbara. And then Barbara, she goes, well, hey, how's it going? Are you still doing Bold? I'm going, okay, there's a link. Okay, Bold. And she goes, you know, I took Bold with you 9 years ago in San Antonio. I go, now I know where the connection is, right? And she says, I took Bold with you 9 years ago. And she goes, you know, how's Bold going? Now she's talking to me about Bold, right? And the next thing she says, now, well, you know, I know when you were doing Bold here, you had that honey that lived here in San Antonio. You guys still together? I said, we sure are. She goes, that's cool. I really liked her. And she goes, did you ever move to San Antonio? I said, well, about 2.5 years ago. She goes, man, I was a day late and $1 short. And you know, she made real light of it. She just chuckled. And I'm going, you know, that was kind of cool. And she goes, well, where do you live? And she goes, well, great. And she goes, by the way, I want to send you a birthday card on your birthday. What's your new address? And she gets my new address. And then we're chatting, and she goes, so what do you like, you know, what do you enjoy about San Antonio? And we're chatting about San Antonio a little bit, having that conversation. And she actually gives me some tips on things going on or things to do. And then she says, well, what kind of big plans do you have for the rest of the year? And we talked about, you know, planning, you know, a trip to Russia and things like this, you know, sometime this year. And we're just visiting. And I hung up the phone after I got through with Barbara. And I said, man, I just got what? Forwarded. I just got forwarded. I got forwarded in the biggest way. And so she asked me about family, right? She asked about my honey in San Antonio. She asked me what was going on with Bold, my occupation. What am I doing for fun?
Recreation.
What future plans do we have? You know, and so dreams, future plans. I'm going, man, that was a forward conversation, and I liked it. Now, here's the interesting thing. I left that conversation, and I'm going, now, you know, when that came up on my caller ID, I couldn't leave well enough alone because it was, I was curious. I had her in my caller ID, and when it did go off in my phone, there was a vague familiarance. Familiarance, is that a word?
Yeah.
I'm going for familiarance. There you go. I'm inventing words today. Yeah. Vague familiarity. There we go. And I got school teachers, and I got to do it right in here. So, and I said, was it just because I had her in Bold? And then I went home and I pulled up my email, and this is what I saw. Look at that. Barbara Delimon, Barbara Delimon. And so in some cases, every couple of 2-3 weeks, at least once every 6 weeks, I was getting an email from her.
9 years.
For at least, I scrolled down and I had at least 5 years worth of emails. I think the rest were probably archived, or I wasn't getting them back then. I think they were just archived. And yet, what's the lesson?
You still didn't know who she was.
Didn't know who she was. Because here's the thing. Any one of you would have called me 2 minutes before that phone call I had with Barbara. If any one of you had called me 2 minutes before and said, I've got a great referral for San Antonio, who should I send it to? It would not have been Barbara. 2 minutes after the phone call, you called me and asked me that, who would it have been? Barbara. And I did get the birthday card in the mail. She followed up, sent the birthday card. In fact, I emailed her the day before yesterday. I said, hey, we need to have lunch. And I hadn't told her this story, that I was telling this story, and then shared with her the story and had it on video and shared it with her. And I said, you better keep making those phone calls because you don't want me to forget, right? So I said, you're overdue for a phone call is what I told her. I said, I'm expecting another call. It's not my birthday yet, and yet I'm expecting a call. And so I look at this. Now, by the way, a few days later, I get another email from Barbara. What did I do this time when I got the email? I read it. I didn't really read it. I skimmed it. And yet I opened it and I paid attention to it. I only did that because why? Because now she's connected with me. We're in flow a little bit. We've got a rhythm. We got a dance going. And now I'm curious. What's Barbara said to me? I didn't notice any of it before. It was just background noise. I mean, let's be honest. If I were to pull up my email right now, I've got like 3,500 flagged emails. That means I'm only paying attention to what? The highly, highly important. And so, and then of course, a couple weeks later, I get another. And by the way, I scroll down, so that's what she looks like. And then by the way, when I see her picture, memory comes back and I can visualize her in the bouldering. And yet, I didn't even look at this until I got the phone call. And so what we're here today to talk about is how do you get that kind of connection and rhythm going and stay in that kind of relationship so that you get massive referrals. Is that an okay conversation? And this is why AutoConnect was developed. We understood that we had a partner with you guys to help you create that hyper-local presence so that you can stay connected, you can stay top of mind. And so we knew that we had to take that on. Now, Gary Keller, did anybody watch his interview with Brad Inman at COU?
Yeah.
So it was a very contentious kind of thing. And then at the very end, Brad Inman, now keep in mind, this is a nationwide audience, live streamed, and Gary's talking about disruption in the industry and everything that's going on. And Brad Inman asked him one question at the very end. He said, what do agents have to do to be ready for the changes ahead? How do they make sure that they come out of the disruption or the changes in our industry prosperous and doing well? Anybody remember what Gary's answer was? What was his answer, Avis?
Database.
He said, they simply have to be in a relationship and add value and be the trusted advisor to a tightly held database. He goes, if they'll do that, they're going to be okay. If they don't do that, the consumer's going to have a relationship with that thing in their hand. And it's going to be whoever can get their attention. And yet, the youngest generation right now that's coming into adulthood says they prefer relationships with people, right? What's old is new again. And it's, all these things really work. And so, Gary said it really clearly. He said you got to be in a relationship with a database. And in our industry, it seems to be the biggest struggle. Would y'all agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Making it a priority, we get distracted by shiny objects and the latest thing, and we get away from the most fundamental thing. And so here's what Gary said. Gary has said this every year that I've known him. He said, the goal is to be the economist of choice for the local real estate market. It's your professional duty to provide them perspective. How many have been to family reunion many times and heard Gary say that, right? And y'all heard say it again and again. And that, he says, that's who we have to be to kind of capture that position. Whoops, I switched too fast. Now, how many of you, maybe you didn't see it. How many of you would say the newspaper is dead? Raise your hand if you think the newspaper is dead. What about that one?
That's everything now. They get everything in there.
Is that newspaper dead? Who loves getting it?
Is it a newspaper? I guess it is.
Yeah, it's periodical, it's a newspaper.
They've opened in several other states.
Yeah, they just
all
opened
over the place.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
All over the place.
and
So,
incredibly.
incredible success. Why are they having such incredible success?
Because it's local information.
They tell you right here on the bottom, because it's what?
Local, useful, everyone gets it.
In their market. And so, you know, what we're talking about when we talk about AutoConnect is making you what? Local,
useful,
and everyone in your database gets it. You know, everyone in your community. And so when we think about, you know, campaigns, whether it's print, electronic, you know, the key thing has got to be consistent. You know, and then it has to add value. It has to have something that people want to see. Here's the interesting point I want to make, and this was a Zillow study. They polled 13,000, I'm just going to call it 250 households that had closed a year to 15 months prior. And they asked them this question. They said, with what frequency have you heard from your real estate agent since you closed your home? What's the first one? 74% never hear from their agent. Is that scary or what?
Oh, that's a blessing.
That's a blessing for us. 20% occasionally, 6% regularly. Now, if you're going to capture their business in the future and the referrals, which one's going to work? You got to be one of the 6% that do. You know, and this is the challenge. I mean, Tony DeCello and I, when we were out at Shift Book Tour years ago, were testing this room after room, and we found that only 3 to 5% of agents were regularly communicating with their database, particularly with the most important what? Phone call. I mean, Barbara just demonstrated for us that without the phone call, all the other stuff gets weaker, yes?
Yes.
If you're familiar with Jay Papasan's Gary's writing partner in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent and all the other books and One Thing and so forth. And Jay and the research team did a little study, and they said, we're here to talk about generating referrals. You can do a lot of marketing and get their repeat business, and yet if you're going to get referrals, those happen when you actually, what? Have conversations. And he said you could strip away a lot of the other marketing. He said as long as you have 4 conversations with people, the referrals, that you've been around a long time, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, it's you know, it's
Well, it's more than that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all about everything you do.
Yeah.
It's all about relationships, no matter what.
No matter what. And what are you going to do to add value to that relationship, right? And by the way, not just add value. I can't tell you how many times in Bold I've had somebody in First Step to Bold, you know where we make that call and you have 2 minutes to help me with a problem? And how many times, Robert, I've had people call somebody they had seen that morning walking or at breakfast. And they want to make the easiest call they can make first. And they call and ask them for a referral and they get 3 of them.
I just got a text. You're out of the marks and they can't see your face.
How's that? Out of my marks. Well, this is the important part right here. So
Lines, boy.
the problem, I'm so damn big and nobody can see the screen when I'm over here. So it's like, you know, it's like, what's the hazard? You should have been here. That's all I'm saying. You should have been right here. All right, come on. What, you're not busy enough to grow your business? Or, oh, never mind, I'm just messing with you. And so here's the point. You know,
Judy and I were talking last night. The latest thing on Trump was they came out and said, you know, he spends too much executive time. He's in watching TV and talking on the phone. Talking on the phone is essential, and they don't consider that part of the job or.
That's it.
Judy talks on the phone.
Depends on who you're talking to. It's like, okay, you know, just come on. And so you think about this now. Let's talk. How many of y'all want to play a game of massive referrals? Who's game for playing massive referral game?
We are.
Y'all game? All right. So let's talk about this game. See, now y'all have heard about all the would-be disruptors in the industry, right? And you think about the Zillows, the Redfin, Zillow with their instant offers. Richard and I were talking about iBuyers earlier. And then you got, OfferPad and Open Door. You got Purple Bricks coming from the UK over here. And you've been hearing a lot about artificial intelligence, big data, right? Now, this little circle right here represents an 8-year buy-sell cycle. According to the NAR statistics right now, the time between a person buying and selling again is 8.18 years. And so we're just going to call it 8. And what big data is attempting to do is by looking at all your clicks, your analytics, and everything you're doing, is to identify when year 8 is going to happen. Our predictive analytics, we're gonna see, okay, when is this going to happen? And they're putting all this big money into being able to figure that out. They're fighting for that one slice of pie. We're going to talk a different game. You want to beat them at that game?
Yes.
There's actually a bigger game to play that you get to play in. Because here's something that the Harris Interactive did. They did a poll, and here's what it said. Each American household knows at least 4 people who moved last year. And if you doubt it, I encourage you at the next get-together you have with somebody, hey, I heard this statistic. I really want to test it. In the last year, how many people did you know that made a move? Think about it for a second. And it'll easily be 4. And when you think about this, so that means that every single person in your database every year is going to have some awareness of what?
Somebody moving.
4 opportunities. Now, that doesn't mean some of them they're going to have in hindsight. They're not going to know it until after it happened. And yet they're going to know some in advance. So here's the different game that you can play. So if every household, now this represents one household in an 8-year cycle. If every household knows 4 people every year, there's how many referral opportunities to you every year? So every one person in your database. Now, by the way, when we get to year 8, it's not 4, it's 6. Why is it 6? Because they have their own buy-sell, right? And by the way, they probably know more at that time because their RAS is active, their real estate. And so now you think about that. So that means in one cycle of 8 years, there's 34 opportunities. Now, I'm not suggesting you're going to get all of them. You're not. Could you get 15% of them? That's 5. Out of one person in the database. In an 8-year cycle, if you got 5 referrals that turned into business from one person, would that be good? Yeah. I mean, it'd be huge. And so the game, now by the way, if you have them in your life for 4 cycles throughout your career, it could be 136 opportunities with just one person in your database. Now again, you're not only going to convert 10 to 15% of that, maybe a little bit more, but that's probably about it. And yet that's a big number because that's just one person. And so this is the game we choose to play. And yet that doesn't happen unless you're really connected to your database. And see, that's been the battle that everybody's fought for so long. I mean, we all fight it. And the truth is we don't have a choice anymore. The industry's changing, and if we don't go play this game, will people be in relationship with something else that's through an app? If you're not adding value to them, an app will. Or somebody else will get proactive and add that value to them. And so we have to do it today. So here's something from NAR, and this is the options that you really have to go through. So NAR said that cold direct mail is 2,000 to 1 return. So for every 2,000 pieces you put out, you get a piece of business. Cold internet, 1,600 to 1. Cold phone solicitation, 500 to 1. Amos, most of that's being done illegally too, right? Because people don't check the do not call list. And door knocking is 100 to 1 ratio. So every 100 doors I knock on, if I'm skillful about it, can be a transaction. Now, personal contact with friends, 50 to 1. If I'm just kind of casually out there in contact with friends. Ad calls, 25 to 1. Sign, 20 to 1. Bless you. Now, past buyers, 9 to 1. Now, why is it only 1 for every 9? It's because agents don't stay in touch. Past sellers, 4 to 1. Again, agents don't stay in touch enough, so they only capture about 25% of their past sellers. And then referrals, here's the interesting thing. When you get a referral, it says for every 3 referrals you get, 2 will turn into closed business. That comes from NAR. Is that okay, call NAR? No, okay. I got the NAR, the TAR, NAR police here, so I have to watch it.
You got the look too, but you didn't see it.
What's that? I got the look. Yeah, it's like, I'm going back over. She's looking at me now. Yeah. So, is the opportunity pretty big? And I share all this with you because I think you need this foundation of understanding to know where to jump off into this. You know, at some point you have to make a decision whether you're going to do it through AutoConnect and let us help you, or you're going to get your own thing going, and we're okay either way. We just want you to go find, you know, your path to make sure that you're maximizing your opportunity so you can live in this world. And we're going to talk about direct mail, and yet is ours cold direct mail? Yes or no?
No, it's warm.
No, it's warm. It's building and adding value and building a position, you know, with relationships we already have. So here's what we did. We launched, when did we launch, Rachel, when did we launch that beta group?
Our first newsletter was September.
Was September? So in September, we launched a beta group, I believe 26 people between here and Georgetown, where we had to figure out the systems to make it work. I mean, because there's publishing, there's aggregating the databases and doing all this, and that was, Rachel came on as a project manager to do that for us and built all these systems to make it work. And we got 26 people that took their database and launched them on the program. And what the program is consisted of, well, here are the deliverables. And we started with the print campaign. And we've got 8 local economist infographic postcards, 4 quarterly hyperlocal newsletters, and then 12 item of value direct mail pieces. So AutoConnect that you enroll in is this up here. Now, the hyperlocal email, as soon as we have smart plans, we'll be providing you, the members of this will also get the same thing built into an email that you can send out each month. And we say each month because we're going to, 8 months, we're going to have you send out that email. It's hyperlocal. And then 4 times a year, we're going to encourage you to do a video email. And you'll have a lab for that, and you can come in and, okay, how do I do that inside MailChimp and make that work? And then the most important part, this probably ought to be at the top, and yet it freaks people out. Most important part is what? It's those conversations. It's those quarterly phone calls, you know, forward conversations that you can have. And ideally, you're just working DTD2, so you just have it spaced repetition of just have it happen that simple. So when we think about, you know, who should you put on an AutoConnect campaign, and I know I'm not at my mark, you can't see it if I'm up here. If you're on an AutoConnect campaign, here's who we encourage you to put on there. First, do I know the person that I'm putting on there? This is not ideally for just internet leads that I get and I don't even have a relationship with them or know them. Do I know them and like them? Or I'm sorry, I know who they are and I like them. Do they know who I am? And then thirdly, I'd be willing to call them a minimum of what? 2 times per year. Why do we resist calling people, though? What gets in the way of making that phone call to our database?
Because we think we're bothering them.
Okay.
Or we don't want to take the time. We have other things that are more important, like going out to inspections. We sell, you know, letting people in houses, keeping the ball rolling. And we don't know that if we're not doing this, the ball's not going to roll.
The ball's stuck. Davis?
I'll just give you I'd have to make small talk.
I have to make small talk with her. Shoot me already, right? Yeah. And so, in fact, can I give you a little model? Write this down. Write this down. So, now by the way, is it easier to make a phone call when you've been adding value to them in lots of ways? So you've got a campaign going out to them. And so you've got a campaign going out, and let's say I call up Tara, and you know the phone rings, Tara picks up, and I go, And she goes, hi, and I go, hey Tara, how's it going? Steve Schleter. And she answers, and we have a brief, just nicey nice. Hi Tara, how you been? And we have nicey nice and say, hey, you've been on my mind. I thought I'd give you a quick call. What's new? What's going on in the world of blankety blank? And maybe I ask her a forward question. And she's going to engage, and then maybe I ask a follow-up question. And then I go to, well, hey, Tara, the reason for my call is, did you happen to get my newsletter this month? If you did, you noticed that, blank was going on, and I really wanted to reach out to folks and tell them that, what I think they might want to be considering given the trends in the market, and want to just keep you informed. Now, I could have that conversation, right? And then I wrap up the call. Now, I'm not going to talk real estate for more than a minute. And then I'm going to wrap up the call with another forward question. I said, so Tara, what else is going on? What are things looking like for the Red Raiders this year? And I know she's got guns up, and I'm going to have a conversation about something like that. That I'm going to wrap the conversation on, and we hang up the phone, and I'm connected with Tara. Now, by the way, does Tara pay more attention to my stuff now that I'm keeping in touch with her? What do you think, Tara? Yep. Yeah, and then now here's the model for that. Write this down. Salutation, acknowledge, say hello. The next thing is ask a forward question for common ground. So I asked her, what's going on in the world of work or with the family or whatever. And then then I get to the purpose of my call. And then I wrap up on a forward question. And then the call's done. Now, by the way, when I ask forward questions, I'm also listening for change. Tara talks about, got all the kids out of the house now, or almost there, or whatever the case is, right? And you start listening for change. And change can you predict a real estate transaction in the future by change that's going on in somebody's world?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're listening for change, and then you can offer, help or guidance, if that's the case. So what we'll be doing right now is what you're subscribing to when you choose to get involved is the print campaign, and as soon as we have smart plans, you'll have the hyperlocal emails. In the meantime, we say just run a stock email campaign from eEdge. It's not hyperlocal, and yet you've got enough hyperlocal going on with this program. In fact, what's Candy's last name in Georgetown? Smith?
Candy Smith.
Candy Smith. I had breakfast this morning with Scott Tolar, and we were talking about AutoConnect. He said, he goes, Candy Smith came into my office the other day and said she got a listing from somebody she hadn't talked to in 15 years. And I asked her, well, how'd you get the listing? She said, that stupid newsletter. I'm going to say what she said. No, it wasn't so stupid anymore, right? So all of a sudden it's a $10,000, $12,000 commission. That's a lovely newsletter, that paid for her campaign for years to come. And by the way, if she continued to not talk to them, it wouldn't, if she didn't have anything going, it just would not have happened. And so here's an example of we have the latest newsletters getting ready to go out this next month. You have a sample there of the original newsletter that we did. This is the one that came after it. Now notice how hyper-local it is. We have Kalahari. How do you say that? Calamari. Okay, good. Kalahari Resorts. And Rachel found this great story about this guy's list he had on his desk. In fact, it came from CNN, right?
The CNN, had done a story on him as an owner.
Yeah, and they had just done this press release, and Rachel called Kalahari, and they sent her this CNN thing on Todd Nelson, and it was a great human interest thing, and it's hyperlocal. And by the way, this works. Is anybody in Williamson County interested in Kalahari? It doesn't matter if they're in Georgetown or in Hutto or if they're in Cedar Park. I mean, they care about that. And then we get into millennials, and we said, okay, states where millennials are moving to, which one was number 2? Texas. And how that impacts kind of our economy and who's moving here. And then this is a once a quarter deal. So every quarter we call out, this goes out, and the one that's getting ready to go out is kind of a year in review, various statistics. So it's kind of like an economist report, yes? And what I didn't put is the back page of this. You'll see the back page always has the vital signs. And what's trending in the key markets. What do you have, 7 markets on there or 6 markets on there?
I think we only have 6 on it because that's all we have room for.
Yeah, so we usually profile 6 or 7 markets and what's happening there. And then we have the item of value postcard. This goes out every month and it features a local artist. In fact, I believe it was Reggie mentioned that he got a call from somebody and said, hey, that artist is my daughter's art teacher in high school or wherever it was, right? And it was that connection that got created. And so on the front page we're featuring the local artist. On the second one, it's all the events that are going on, not just in Round Rock or Georgetown, but all over kind of the general area. And people are going to see things there that interest them, yes? Yeah. And by the way, if you have an artist, let us know, and we'll see if we can't profile them and put their work in here.
A question.
Yeah.
Rachel's probably already said this, but we have a question. Is the schedule going to be on it every week? I mean, every time we mail out this nice little event schedule.
That comes out every month.
Every single one of them.
With something, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it'll kind of overlap the dates a little bit. And so that nobody, people have it in advance enough so they can see what they can plan for things, things they might want to go to.
It's about a 45-day list.
Yeah, and they get it every 30 days, and it's a 45-day list. So we kind of keep it out in front a little bit so that they're never short of days. Now, by the way, does that potentially have some shelf life if people? I would stop and hang on to that for a little bit if I was interested in those kind of things. Yeah, and so what we're looking at is giving shelf life to things. What would be an item of value?
I think every UT graduate still has that on their refrigerator.
I know.
Yeah, every UT grad.
The Texas Tech grads.
The Texas Tech Aggies couldn't throw it away fast enough, so they're going like this.
I actually like a Longhorn, which would be the only reason I would keep it.
There you
It's
go.
just such a shame that they're connected.
That's such a shame, I tell you. So, gonna get Yosemite Sam up down there. Get us a good one. Now, this is our latest infographic postcard. Median sales price. Now, this one we did a little vertical thing, and we did it by Williamson County here, Travis County here. This is just a quick, easy infographic. Now, when we get smart plans, we'll give you similar things in digital form that you could put into Facebook ads or you could put into email campaigns. This is a print postcard. So that's the front side, that's the back side. Now, you'll notice we get a call to action in here. The first newsletter and a couple postcards I had, we kind of missed, we need stronger calls of action. And we started building more calls of action in. And we said, based on historical data and trending numbers, we expect to see home prices rise slightly in 2019. Well, what does slightly mean? And we give some perspective based upon what happened in Williamson and Travis County this past year. And then we ask, what about investing? And of course, you see the call to action down here is call me today. Let's set an appointment to discuss your real estate investment questions. I look forward to helping you achieve your goals. So we call that in our marketing terms that we teach in our referrals, we call that a MOFR. Anybody remember what MOFR stands for? Make offer for immediate response. And no response is a response. And yet you're making an offer and you're telling them to take an action or answer a question. And so every marketing piece, now the item of value doesn't have any call to action. It's just an item of what? The one that's the schedule and the profiling art, it's just that. And what does it say about you when you send something that's just an item of value that's about community events and featuring an artist? What does it say about you?
You care about them. You care about them. You want them to know.
I'm just a regular person. I'm interested in what's happening. I like our local artists, and they're getting enough other stuff that I don't need to bombard them with an offer on that. I just need to add value to them. And then here's another infographic. This one was a little bit more complicated, and yet we had an explanation, and we were comparing national and local trends, and we said, okay, we interpreted it back here on what we believe is happening in the market. And is our local market overvalued? Could people believe that? And remember, part of your job as a local real estate economist is to take a position on what the market is. And we came back and said, well, it's either prices are above the long-term local trend. History indicates we likely see a flattening of the market until prices come back in alignment with the trend line. Or the greater Austin area has become the 11th largest metropolitan area in the U.S. As a result of Austin's growth, we may be seeing our numbers aligning with the national trend line, which leaves room for additional appreciation. So see, if you go back to this, and it's hard to see this. We mind flipping that light off right there? Sure. Yeah. The other one too. You know, if you look at this, the light gray is Austin. Now, by the way, when we got above the trend line for Austin, what happened when we came above the trend line back in the early 2000s? It flattened out until it corrected, and then it started to come back to the trend line and just kind of flattened out. It never really took a big dip, did it? And it flattened out, and then we started, you know, during the recession, it really flattened out. And then it's come back in, and now it's above the trend for Austin. And yet it's below the national trend. And Austin being the city that it is now, is it possible that we're joining that trend line? We don't know. We don't know.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. And yet the worst case that's going to happen, if we are above this, history says we just kind of tend to what? Flatten out. We don't have horrible dips. You know, and you can only do so much interpretation on a postcard, and that one's a little bit complex. What we've worked towards is making our infographics simpler, you know, in the future. And yet we always go and interpret this. What does this mean? And then conclusions for sellers, conclusions for buyers. You know, conclusion for buyers: mortgage rates still at historical lows. Rising mortgage rates reduce future buying power, and so we're kind of giving the reasons they might still act, yes? You know, despite, regardless of what might be happening in the market. This is another one where we just kind of graphed out, you know, sales, and third quarter sales by market area, another interpretation. Contact me today to request your personalized real estate review. And then now we get to the good part. So first off, tell me what you see in what we're doing here. This was all built to partner with you guys to help you create that position as that trusted advisor, that local economist. Tell me what you see.
Relevant data to the market.
What's that?
Relevant data to the market we're targeting.
Relevant data for the market we're targeting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hi guys. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm back in my spot. Yeah. You think, here's the challenge. Is this difficult to duplicate by ourselves? It's a chore, right? You know, yeah, it's a chore. I mean, you know, putting this together, Rachel can attest, is a chore. And this is where we got really clear. We've got to partner with you in doing it. And in doing this, we're doing it because we know that the success, your success, is driven by your relationships with your database. And we found out that this just isn't going to happen unless we help you with it. And so here's what the investment is for you to get on AutoConnect. And what we built into this, and here's what this gets. It gets you the newsletter every quarter. There's 2 pieces that go out every month. So it's either the newsletter and a postcard, or it's 2 postcards. And every month there's something that's real estate economist, either it's the newsletter or the infographic. And then there's the item of value, which is the community events. And so all those, that happens every single month. And it's on a clockwork system now, it just works. So it's $1.48 per Connect recipient per month. So if you have 100 recipients at $1.48 a month, and that's postage and everything, and we've allowed for the postage increases that just, I think they happened in January, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. It's $148 a month for 100. You got 150, you're going to invest $222 a month, and you kind of get the idea. Now, if you get a 10% return on your database, and if you'll make the phone calls, along with the rest of the campaign, if you'll make the phone calls, a 10% return is completely in reach. If you don't make the phone calls and you do everything else, it's probably going to be about a 4% return. Same. Now, you can double your money, and you more than double your money if you pick up the what? and you're going to be in flow, and you're going to be connected, and you're going to get the referrals. And yet, even if it was half of 70, what's 148 times 12? Somebody give me the math.
Under 1,800.
1,800-ish. If 1,800 got you 35,000, would that still be a good investment? You know, Candy Smith, you know, just a 15-year person, she said, I got to reconnect with this person. I put them in, and we've had numerous stories from our beta group. Rachel, just you personally, you're doing all this other project work, and you're only sending it out to how many people?
I'm sending it out to 50 and I have 3
buyers that you're working from 50. So, I mean, at 5, you'll be at a 10% return, and you're just a few months into this.
Yeah.
And, you know, capitalizing on this relationship. Now, you'd be doing a lot more if you weren't doing project work, because this is a full-time job that she's been doing for us, this and another project. And may I say, I would like y'all to applaud her for getting all this. This is not easy work. And you know, Rachel said it really well this morning. We were having a talk about our other project. Is a lot of these projects never get done because people don't stick with them. You know, and it took a lot of stick-to-itness, everything from the billing system and, you know, just the mechanics of dealing with the printer and beating the printer over the head several times before the system got right. She's pretty violent, so you got to watch that. Yeah, okay, we're gonna, you know. And so that's the investment, and it's, you know, we're going to go through. There's some FAQs right here. We're going to go through those. By the way, the companion to this is to take never-ending referrals. If you want to get, who's taking never-ending referrals? If you want to get really strategic with all of this, is take never-ending referrals. This lady, Kristen Schlesinger up in Indianapolis, Diana called me several months ago and said they were in San Antonio doing a coach's skills camp. She goes, I need you to come up here and hold boards. They were doing a board breaking at coach's skills camp. So I went up there and I held this lady's board, and she said, tonight coaching skills camp, Steve held my board while I broke through my fears. 3 years ago I took this course and it changed my world. Last year I sold just under 12 million with the tools, models, and systems from D2D2. Tonight I got to tell them about it. And that's why this whole database stuff has been such a passion for me, because I know that there's riches in your database. I mean, everything you want to fund in your life is there, and we just have to start working it. And we got to get intentional, we got to add value. And y'all probably heard about D2D2. If you're not taking never-ending referrals, you probably don't understand it. And so I would really encourage you to get in there and take it. You've probably seen these around before. And this is just breaking your database down and chunking it down into manageable pieces. So that is that. Let's go through the FAQs. So what do y'all think? Is this something that might make an impact on your business? How about that? Is this something that might make an impact on your business? Yes. All right, I want everybody on the recording to hear you, so there you go. All right, so let's go through the FAQs. Our goal ideally would be, if you start on page 1, is to have everybody get to 200 in their database that they're auto-connecting. And not just to a collection of names, to people that you would feel comfortable having a value-added conversation, you know, with, at least a couple of times a year, ideally 4 times a year. And if you're starting with, in the beta group, we limited it to, you had to have a minimum of 100. And there's work putting together, a list and everything. And ideally, I mean, if you could start with 50, if you wanted to start with 50, we're going to say get to 100 as fast as possible. And then, by the way, once you get to 100, get to what? Get to 150, get to 200 as fast as possible. And create a progression and just get this done. So if you go, Rachel, you might help me with this too, because you're the expert on this. There's an AutoConnect template, and
yes.
Miranda has that.
Yes.
So if to get your folks in the proper format, go ahead and get the template from Miranda. She'll be able to get that to you, and we'll make sure that, in fact, we have a list of everybody who's in here today. Yeah, and we'll make sure we get you that template. And you've got all these FAQs. Let's go to, you got to have a headshot that's a certain resolution.
Yes, and this is the one we tend to have the most.
That's step 5. You go to step 5.
So on the headshot, just make sure that it's the print size. You normally get 2 when you get your headshot done, and they give you the web size, and they give you print size.
Mhm.
Print is the one we need because it's high resolution and it makes you look really pretty on the print. Otherwise, you look very pixelated and like you don't necessarily have all of your face attached to the photo. And we want your
That
face.
seems like every day to me, so.
So yeah, high resolution.
Yeah. So your photos, we asked that we have your database by what time each month, Miranda? The 5th. So if you want to get in on the next month cycle, the deadline is the 5th of the month to make sure that you launch in the next month. Now we also have a Google form. Tell them about the Google form, Miranda, for updates and all that.
Right, so on request, we'll send you a Google form. If you have ads or removes or edits to current contacts, up to 10. List your database, we'll send it, and then we'll.
And you're not going to remember all that, so just when it's time, you say, I want to add 30 people this month. Well, you're not going to put them all in the Google form. You're just going to get with Miranda, and she'll send you the right document, and we'll add them, clean it up. They go through.
She'll be sending, she sends out a monthly email. We do, and it'll be from Miranda.
Mm-hmm.
A monthly email on around the 28th-ish of the month that says, hey, don't forget if you have updates or deletions, and it has the Google form link in there. So we're not just relying on you to remember. We'll remind you too. Perfect.
And then we have an AutoConnect covenant here, which says, we're asking if you start this journey to commit to 18 months. Our intention is you start touching your database, you're going to get a what? You're going to get a big return. And, and yet, if it's something you're going to do for 2 months expecting whiz-bang results, and you're not going to do anything else, not pick up the phone calls, don't start. And yet if you invested for a long term with it, even if you didn't make the phone calls, would you get some return? Just like Candy did. We've had those happen where unsolicited they come. It's just not going to be a 10% return on your database. Not likely. You might be one of the fortunate few where you make that happen. And yet we want to set realistic expectations. The magic and the big return, comes with the phone calls. And we're okay if you just want to put people in there and you're okay with a 3, 4, or 5% return. You're still making money. That's really up to you to decide. So let's go through this covenant. It says, I further pledge to follow. I provide contact information from my database, which is yours, to my market center in an Excel format for the purpose of submission to the print vendor. To commit to minimum database of 100 persons to grow it to at least 200, ideally in the next 90 days. This is the covenant we had with the beta group. And we're telling you, if you want to start smaller, you can. We want you to get started. C, to apply the following standards. We talked about those. I know and like them. They know who I am, and I'm willing to call them at least twice a year. To provide feedback on what we can do to make the program better for you. To open a MailChimp account, and you're going to need one for command. That's kind of part of your command deal. So that when we start getting into your email campaigns, that'll all be ready to work. And we'll have separate workshops you can come to for that. Complete the Google form as needed for updates. Number F, you can scratch through that. That was for the beta group. We haven't implemented that yet at this time. F is scratched through. G, submit database updates using Google form provided. That's what we spoke to. The photo, number H, and your profile per instructions by the 5th of the month and the month you're desiring to start. Participants are strongly encouraged to complete never-ending referrals if not already completed. J, understand that if my credit card is declined, I will have 24 hours to remedy or my mailing will be canceled or delayed. If my card is declined and unremedied 2 months in a row, I will be removed from the direct mail program altogether. K, I understand that postal rates are to change. It will change the direct mail cost proportionally, and the postal rates change. Now, we did have a mail increase postage, and then Rachel, I think you determined for our program it was like half a cent, and we had a little enough buffer in there that we just left the cost unchanged at $1.48. So until they raise postage rates again, which probably won't be for another, I don't know, well, they tend to do it every couple of years. No, okay, that often, okay. So, yeah, we'll revisit again. Right now, there's no need for us to change any of that. Now, here's a Market Center covenant we have for you, because one of the things that we're asking you to do is provide us with what? Your contacts. And so we're putting in writing our intention around your contacts. And it just says, we're pleased to be putting together an AutoConnect system for agents building relationship-based business. This is very exciting for us. We look forward to your contribution, feedback, and input on how we can continuously improve this product. We intend to have a high-quality product which all of our associates will be proud to send to their database. Our Market Center acknowledges that the database belonging to you will be voluntarily offered to this program for the vendor of direct mail to easily send those items for the agent. The database you have provided is yours and yours alone. Our Market Center will not retain your database in the event of your retirement or leaving. In any event of your disassociation from our Market Center, your database will be purged from the vendors list and any master list we have created to facilitate the vendor's ease of use. In the case of a duplicate database entry with another agent, only the database entry associated with the agent leaving our Market Center would be removed. You will be provided with a process for adding to your AutoConnect database.
Steve?
Yeah.
There's people in the room that don't understand why that's important.
You explain it, please.
There are lots of companies in town that once you go to work for them, give them your database, it signs something that your database belongs to them, not to you. And if you leave, they begin to market to you. It's very important for you to understand that's not who we are. That's not who we ever intended to become.
Yeah.
Because it's your people, it's not our people.
Yeah.
The Coldwell Banker did that about 10 years ago in Washington State. It kind of blew up in their face, so they're back at it now.
Well, there's, I'm not going to name names, there are people here, lots of companies here that have, the fine print, you've signed over your database when you go to work for them.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you use their email that they have provided for you, all of your emails when you leave belong to them and you can't access them.
Ouch. Ouch. And then, by the way, next you have a bunch of FAQs. I'm not going to go through those. I'll let you answer your questions. And then, conveniently here, there's the process for updating your AutoConnect databases in here. And then there is a list of a bunch of questions that are trigger questions to help you identify people that maybe you don't have in your database. I love there's one of them in here, who owes you money? So send me a referral. If you can't send me the money, who's your masseuse? It's just all these kind of cues that you can go through. I think we have 150 questions that you can go through to identify who's missing. Who'd you buy your motorcycle from? Who'd you buy your boat from? Who'd you buy your motorhome camper from?
Where'd you buy liquor from?
There you go. Where do you buy your liquor from? It's right there, right? So for Avis, so the question for Avis, where do you get your beer bait and ammo?
There you go.
Yeah, all right. So there you go. So, so that's AutoConnect, and I would really encourage every one of you to make a decision. Decide that I'm going to fund this and I'm going to get this going in my business. And what questions do you guys have?
Going to be a strict 100 minimum requirements for you?
No, I mean, you start where you are. We're going to kind of keep it at a 50 minimum to start, and then just get intentional about adding to it, right? And there's setup and everything we have to do. So it just 50 is kind of the. And by the way, everybody can. You go through that list and you'll find 50. Especially if you go to a lot of liquor stores like Avis does. She knows a lot of liquor stores. You got them in Comanche, you got them in Georgetown, you got them in Austin.
Stop it. I think it's important again to remind everyone, this is not like going to the mall and collecting people's names. Really, don't forget, your success will be much greater if you can answer those questions. I know who they are and I like them. They know who I am and I'm willing to call them at least twice a year. If you walk up to them and they can call your name, they know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if if you're familiar with them, they're an acquaintance. And with a little queuing, they would know who you are.
Well,
That's okay too.
The Ford conversation will create the rest of it.
Yeah. See, Barbara and I had a connection. I had lost sight of the connection.
Right.
As soon as she brought that phone call to me, we were connected again, and now we're in a relationship. So she was really more of an acquaintance level. So don't discount that level of relationship. I mean, if you felt like with the right conversation, I could create connection or flow. I'm somebody that they would likely respect, and I like them and would be able to add value to them. Put them in there. Yeah, and then just make sure that you make those calls. And here's the great thing: if you use a Ford strategy, they're not salesy calls. I think the last thing we all want to do is call our database and have a salesy call. We want to treat them like human beings.
It's about relationship.
Yeah.
It's all about relationships, and that ultimately results in getting what you want because you gave them what they wanted.
It is all about relationship, and if you never talk real estate or you never put real estate in front of them, they don't build that context for you.
Well,
Yeah.
okay,
So
I'll buy that.
yeah, and so it's a combination. It's relationship, and it's being that trusted local advisor when it comes to real estate. You got to let them know who you are, what you do, and that's what this is designed to do. And then, of course, as we get into email campaigns with smart plans, likely will be released shortly after family reunion. We're going to make sure everything's working right, and so I will probably deploy smart plans with the email campaigns. Probably not before May. We're going to just make sure all the technology is working right. So in the meantime, you can go to eEdge and stop, do a stop campaign when it comes to email. So, questions, thoughts? How many of you see this as an opportunity? Say yes.
Yes.
There wasn't a lot of yeses. Okay.
Yes.
Can you see?
Silent yeses.
Can you explain smart plans?
Yeah. So the way that command will work in Keller Cloud is you can go into, it would be probably better yet if I could just show you. Would that be okay, guys? Yes. Yeah. Let's see if we can't. Hello. And if I go to, let me log on to the command. Do I have audio here, Bruce?
Bruce is in the closet still?
He's in the closet.
Hey, Bruce! There's that joke again.
There's that joke again.
All right, what do you want to do?
I'm just going to play video. Do I have audio? Okay, so here's smart plans.
Give me a second.
I'm in HDMI. Will it just come? Or,
No, it won't.
no? Okay.
Separate system.
Separate system.
Might be a pop. When
Thank
you
God for Bruce.
close it in.
Okay, I'll cover yours. Ooh!
We're good.
All right, so here's smart plans. Whoops, hang on.
Are your action plans being fully implemented? Are they really action hopes? With Command, you can move from action hopes to smart plans. Smart plans is the engine behind Command. It allows you to automate your functionary activities so that you can focus on being a fiduciary to your clients. This workflow management and automation tool enables you to be 100% certain your listing checklists, drip campaigns, marketing, and much more are carried out in the way you intended. To get started with Smart Plans, click the Smart Plans icon. Next, click My Smart Plans. When you first open the page, it'll be blank and ready for you to select or create a smart plan. If you want to use a smart plan that's already been created, browse the KW library. If you see something you like, you can preview the plan and add it to My Smart Plans by clicking the plus sign. If you choose to create your own smart plan, just click Create New Smart Plan. It's quick and easy with the click and drag features. Add items such as tasks you need to complete, such as staging a house on a listing smart plan, delays, the amount of time to wait before taking another action, emails. These can be part of a marketing campaign or follow-up emails. Watch for additional items to be added as they move through the labs process. If you're on a team, your smart plans are immediately shared in the exclusive team library. And since command tools are integrated, smart plan activities are automatically associated and accessible from the relevant contact. For example, If you use Smart Plans to send personalized happy birthday emails, you'll also find those emails on that contact's activities. Once you've activated a Smart Plan, you can go back to the dashboard to view My Analytics. From Analytics, you can easily measure your results and make smart decisions about which activities to adjust or double down on to amplify your business. With Smart Plans, you're not hoping. You're automating smart business strategies so that you can focus on providing extraordinary value to your consumer.
That's Smart Plans.
And where do we find that?
Smart Plans is not released yet. So, they'll be launching Command at or shortly after Family Reunion. And then, now keep in mind, the Smart Plan Library, here's the way the Smart Plan Library works. Let's say that, Terry, you build an awesome Smart Plan campaign with some really cool stuff that anybody in the country would want to use. You can put it up on the KW Smart Plan Library and sell it for $5 download. You could turn it into something like that, or you could give it away. And what we're going to do at the market center level is we're just going to take what we've been doing, print, and digitize different. It won't be the same thing. Digitize a different thing that we put into a Smart Plan email campaign, and we'll put it up on the marketplace just for y'all. And what that means is you can go select it, download it. It puts it right into your command, and then you launch it to your database. And so it'll autofill your contact information, your photo, headshot, all your personal information, and you didn't have to do any of the creativity of coming up with the hyperlocal content. So
how's that different from what we're already doing in the Edge?
Well, what you're doing in the Edge is you're probably just sending out national content, or it may not even be hyperlocal. It's just, here's this month in real estate, which is national stuff. This is going to be stuff that's relevant to local market.
Can we edit the same Smart Plan which you have when you put it on the marketplace?
What's that now?
Can you edit that same Smart Plan which you are saying like we can download, right?
Yeah, you can have a workflow Smart Plan that says when I take a new listing, this letter goes out, these activities have to happen. What we're going to be providing as part of AutoConnect, there are all these other things that will be built. Some will come stock, that Keller Williams will build, and you can customize them or you can build your own. You'll have all these options. What we're going to provide is the marketing, right? The email marketing, the social media marketing in a Smart Plan format. It'll be part of your AutoConnect. So we'll cover the electronic side now in addition to the print side. And now you'll have all the channels covered, right? You've got pick up the telephone, you've got direct mail, you've got email, because we only know such a certain percentage of that's going to get open. And so now we're attacking it at we're taking every opportunity to have a contact channel in different medium with our database. Yes, sir, Rob.
So is there a roadmap for commercial version of statistics?
There will be, yeah. Now, as far as, for AutoConnect, we haven't gone down here's where we intend to go. Right now, the content committee is pretty much Rachel.
No, we've got one agent, one assistant, and then Mary and Candy and Miranda, Melinda and Kristen have all been very kind.
Everybody been pitching. So where we would like to be at some point, now, by the way, it's AutoConnect. We wanted you to be able to do this without having to lift a finger. And some of you've got some real skills in maybe, graphics, or you've got skills in writing or whatever the case may be from your past. And as we have those people get involved with AutoConnect, if you'd like, and there's no expectation of it, we would love to have a content committee. So, every time that there's a newsletter that's going to get ready for publish, we'd love to have about, 6 or 8 agents on a content committee say, we really, they've been aggregating ideas from everybody. We'd really love to see this in the newsletter, this quarter, or this on an infographic. And the best ideas will come from you guys. And we're prepared to do that and ultimately build a content committee that helps us. Nobody has to do text formatting or put it into, we have a person that does that, who works as a virtual assistant for the printer. I believe they're virtual.
No, printer.
They're on site, on
They're
staff?
on site, yeah.
So we got a person on staff at the printer at Minuteman in Cedar Park that does all the formatting work and does all that for us. So we just need the content. What's the relevant stories, the relevant data? So when I was up in Georgetown, there was a group from Bell County and said, hey, could we do this for Bell County? And I said, yes, you can. You just have to get a content committee for Bell County and tell us what you want in the content. Same thing for commercial. Is at that point, if there's a commercial version of this, the commercial crew would have to build a content committee, because we're primarily a residential firm that does light commercial. And in fact, that residential is a big feeder for commercial, and yet this is so much in its early stage, y'all would have to put a content committee together. Yes?
I just have a question on, so the agent that you're putting on the postcard, you have to find the information to put on the postcard? The agent has to find the information?
No.
Okay.
We do all that.
No, we do all that.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just saying the content committee as far as like for the newsletter, for stories, things like that. As far as like the events and all that, we got all that covered.
Okay.
That's done.
Literally, like even the stats are covered.
Okay.
Like that's super simple. It's simply the articles.
The articles.
That we want help with.
That's what I was going to say. You're still seeking information from agents if they have suggestions?
Yeah, just email them to Miranda.
Well,
and they're gonna, and Miranda and myself, and they're going to go into one file.
Yeah.
But my understanding
like
is
Leslie knows the area very well, and she knows a lot of things that go on in the community. So if she had something that she thought was important that you may consider, she could send it to you.
You'd love to.
Yeah, like Steve is always sending me stuff, and it goes into one file, and then I open it when it's time to work on that project. And so it's just.
But it's the same information like all the agents will have to their.
Yes.
Yeah. Right now we have no crossover. Right? Currently no duplicates. And here's the interesting thing about this. Tony DeCello was the #2 agent in Boulder, Colorado for, a decade and a half. Karen Minardi was the #1 agent in Boulder, Colorado. And when Tony DeCello, who's Diana Costa's husband, went into coaching and he sold his agent business, he was going to sell his agent business, Karen Minardi thought she might want to buy it, so they did a non-disclosure agreement. They were able to look at each other's databases, and the two. Boulder's not a big city, and the two top agents in Boulder, their crossover was about 12%. So their databases only had 12% of people in common. So we don't find that happens very much. And then, by the way, if there is crossover, who's the one that's going to win the day? The one who's probably making the phone calls, and and we're not going to alert you when there's a duplication. That's not our business to go monkeying around with that and create a fuss. And it happens so rarely that it would not really be an issue. And if they get the same thing, they just know that y'all are both on the ball. So there you go. The one that makes the call is going to win today.
And we're doing analytics. Because now that we know who you're mailing to, we have over 30, I think we're mailing to 3,300 now. And now that we know who you're mailing to, the top 7 cities are the ones that we're really focusing our data on. So we know what zip code y'all are mailing to. So now we can get even more hyper-local with our stats. For instance, I realized that I had left one city out. We had only done 6 on our vital signs. And I was like, I don't have room for more. And yet, so those are going on all of our postcards to include that 7th city, because that's a huge market of who y'all are sending to. So we're paying attention to what you're giving us, and then molding it even further.
Yeah, it's not just willy-nilly at all. It's really intentional, and that being the case, I had a thought and it's fleeting. I don't know what it was. Hey, what do you want to tack on to all this?
Where are you tacked?
You done tacked out? There you go. Well, guys, that's so the next step to get involved is Miranda. Let's get them the template. Let us know of your intentions. If you intend to get your database involved, let us know. Give us a heads up so that we can be prepared and get that photo, get that template, And by the way, while you're putting those together, be getting the emails as too, so you can have that to be ready for your drip campaign. Yet if you don't have an email, you can get your print campaign going, and then you can add to this as you move along. So thanks for the opportunity to share this with you guys today. I look forward to seeing y'all's success with it and the rewards being reaped. So there you go. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.